As the evening sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in soft shades of gold and orange, Khloe Smith stood quietly by the large window of her cozy home in Cahe, one of Milwaukee's most elegant neighborhoods. The rustling autumn leaves danced in the wind outside, creating a peaceful scene in the garden. Khloe rested her hand gently on her growing belly, now 6 months pregnant. Every little flutter reminded her of the new life inside her, and the peaceful future she was determined to create. Her home was warm, filled with soft lights and calm, a world away from the one she had left behind. But her thoughts drifted to a memory she couldn't forget, a grand party thrown 4 years ago for her father Daniel's 64th birthday. It had been held in the family's enormous mansion, filled with chandeliers, fountains, and the finest wines. The guests were some of the most powerful names in Milwaukee's real estate industry. That night, Khloe had arrived wearing a simple black dress, something elegant but affordable. As she walked into the room, her mother Samantha spotted her from across the room, wearing a sharp Chanel suit and dripping in expensive jewelry. Samantha walked over, her eyes scanning Khloe from head to toe. "That's the dress you chose?" she said, voice thick with judgment. "Couldn't Ethan afford anything better?" Khloe had smiled calmly. "Yes, I like it," she said, refusing to take the bait. Moments later, her sister Melody joined them. Melody looked as though she had stepped out of a luxury magazine, designer heels, diamonds, and a cloud of perfume following her. She rolled her eyes. "Still living your simple life?" she asked sarcastically. "You really missed out, Khloe. We actually do things in this family." Melody had been given the title of sales director at their father's real estate company, but Khloe knew the truth. Melody spent more time at cocktail events than in boardrooms. Later that evening, Khloe overheard her father telling a wealthy client that Melody would someday run the family business. He beamed with pride, talking about her talent. When Khloe walked over to wish him a happy birthday, his smile faded. He responded politely, but coldly, like she was just another guest, not his daughter. As the party came to an end, Samantha pulled Khloe aside. "I just want to be clear," she said, lowering her voice. "Melody will be taking over the company. That's decided. You've chosen your path, and it's not one we're proud of." It stung, but Khloe didn't argue. She just nodded and walked away. Years later, when Khloe visited her parents' house to share the news of her pregnancy, the reception wasn't any warmer. Samantha had raised her eyebrows and asked, "And how do you plan to afford a child with your lifestyle?" Even after Khloe explained that she and Ethan were financially stable, Melody couldn't help but chime in, her voice full of fake sympathy. "Well, I guess you've always been okay settling for less." But it was her father's words that cut deepest. "Do not give that child the Williams name," he had said flatly. "You gave up that right." That was the moment Khloe knew, there was no going back. She needed to protect her child from the toxic environment she had grown up in. From that day on, Khloe stopped answering their calls and emails. She wanted peace, and most importantly, she wanted to raise her child in a home filled with love, not pressure and judgment. Still, from time to time, whispers reached her ears, rumors about her family's company. On the outside, Williams Real Estate looked successful, but people in the industry quietly talked about strange transactions and dishonest accounting. Khloe didn't know the full truth yet, but a part of her felt that it was only a matter of time before everything unraveled. One afternoon, as she gazed out the window and let her thoughts drift, Ethan returned home. He looked tired after a long day as CEO of his real estate company, but his eyes softened when he saw her. "You okay?" he asked, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. Khloe smiled. "I am now." But her peace was short-lived. Her phone buzzed. The screen lit up, "Mom calling." She hesitated before picking up. Samantha's voice, as always, was confident and cold. "Khloe, your baby shower is next Saturday. I've booked a private room at Lisanor at 8 p.m. Don't be late." Lisanor was one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. Khloe sighed. "Mom, that's not necessary. I was thinking of something simpler." "Nonsense," Samantha interrupted. "This is my grandchild we're talking about. It needs to be done right, unless you plan on dragging your usual low-budget lifestyle into this too." Khloe clenched her jaw but stayed silent. Soon after, a text from Melody popped up. "You better come this time. You always avoid us. Mom and Dad are really worried about you." Worried? Khloe thought bitterly. They weren't worried, they were embarrassed. Ethan noticed her tense expression and stepped closer. "You don't have to go," he said softly. You don't owe them anything. Khloe looked at him and took a deep breath. I know, but I think I will go. I need to stop running away. It's time to face them. That night, after dinner, Khloe sat in the quiet study and pulled out an old photo album. Inside were pictures from 12 years ago, when she had left her high-paying job at a major corporation to follow her own dreams. Her family had laughed at her then. Samantha had called her a disgrace to the family. But in those photos, Khloe looked strong. Even back then, she had no regrets. It was around that time she had met Ethan, a young man running a tiny real estate company. Her family had mocked him. Why marry someone so small-time? Melody had sneered. But Khloe saw something in Ethan that they never could. He was kind, honest, driven, and most importantly, he never cared about appearances. He loved her for who she was. Together, they had built a life grounded in truth and simplicity. Ethan's business had grown, but their values never changed. Later that evening, Ethan called her from his office. Khloe, can you come here? There's something important we need to talk about. She closed the album, tucked it under her arm, and stood up. Whatever came next, she was ready. This time, she would face her past not as the outcast daughter, but as a woman who had built her own future. The glittering lights of the Milwaukee skyline sparkled against the deep night sky, but inside the private dining room, the mood was cold and tense. The chandelier above gave off a harsh, white glow that seemed to shine directly on the people sitting around the long table. The air felt heavy, filled with unspoken tension, buried lies, and the weight of years of family secrets. Ethan slowly placed a black leather briefcase on the table. The sharp click of its lock opening echoed through the silent room like a warning bell. All eyes turned to him. Samantha's perfectly painted face, full of makeup and pride, twisted into a look of panic. Daniel, older now and clearly uncomfortable, dabbed sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Melody, always glued to her phone, looked frozen, as if she sensed something bad was about to happen but couldn't stop it. Ethan pulled out a thick stack of papers from the briefcase. He placed them neatly in front of him and looked around the table with a calm, steady gaze. These, he said, holding up the first set of documents, are transaction records from Williams Real Estate, going back 6 years. Daniel blinked and leaned forward, confused. What? What are you talking about? Ethan continued, his voice firm but not angry. Your company has been faking invoices, hiding illegal loans, and creating false transactions. Since the 2010 housing crisis, you've actually been bankrupt, but instead of coming clean, you kept living like nothing happened. Khloe gasped quietly, her heart raced, even though she had suspected something wasn't right. Hearing the truth laid out like this was shocking. You've been using fraud, Ethan said, now showing more papers, to keep up your wealthy lifestyle. That's enough, Samantha snapped, her voice sharp and proud. You know nothing. We have a reputation to protect, a name, a legacy. Daniel nodded, trying to regain control. We did what we had to, for our family's image. It wasn't easy. Khloe stood up slowly, her voice steady. So, you're admitting it? You committed fraud just to keep up appearances, and that's why you always judged me, because I didn't live your fake, fancy life? Melody, who had been quiet until now, suddenly rose from her chair. She narrowed her eyes at Khloe and spat. You've always acted so perfect, living your small, plain life like it's something to be proud of. You're a disgrace to our family. But Khloe didn't flinch. She looked at Ethan. What about Melody? She asked quietly. Ethan picked up another file and opened it. This report is about Melody's divorce and finances. You've been divorced for 7 months, haven't you? Melody froze. Her confident mask slipped. You're not actually working as sales director, Ethan said, flipping the pages. You haven't made a single sale. You've just been collecting a paycheck from your parents while doing nothing. Tears welled up in Melody's eyes. I was scared, she whispered, after the divorce. I had nothing, and I couldn't let anyone, especially you, know that I failed. Failed? Khloe repeated, her voice tinged with sadness. You call my life failure, just because I live simply? I built a business with Ethan. We've worked hard for everything we have. We didn't lie or steal. Samantha jumped in again, her voice rising. We've spent our lives protecting this family's pride. You think it was easy? Pride? Ethan asked, his voice calm. He reached for one more document. Let me show you this. He handed a sheet to Samantha. Her hands shook slightly as she looked at it. It's your personal account. You've been taking money from the company and using it to pay for luxury spas and cosmetic treatments. That's enough, Samantha screamed. She covered her ears, unable to listen. You have no right to judge us. You're just a newcomer, an outsider. Ethan met her gaze. An outsider who worked hard and built something honest. I've never lied to anyone, and I've never needed to fake success. Khloe stepped beside him, her voice full of quiet power. You hated that I didn't turn out like you, that I walked away from your world of fake smiles and backstabbing, but I chose truth, and that scares you. Daniel finally spoke again, his voice trembling. What are you going to do? Ethan placed all the papers neatly on the table, like evidence in a trial. You have 38 hours, he said, make things right, or we go to the authorities. No, Daniel whispered, turning pale. Melody broke into sobs. Please, stop, we can't take any more, we've already lost so much. Khloe's voice was cold. You started falling a long time ago, you just refused to admit it. The chandelier's light glared down onto the piles of paper, each one a piece of truth that shattered the lies their family had been built on. Samantha reached out toward Khloe. Please, don't do this, we're still family. Khloe took a deep breath. No, not anymore. I won't let my child be dragged into this. With one hand gently resting on her baby bump, she turned away. Goodbye, she said. She and Ethan walked out of the room, leaving Samantha, Daniel, and Melody sitting in stunned silence, surrounded by the ruins of their carefully crafted image. Days later, in court. The courtroom was quiet and serious. Sunlight streamed through the high windows, but the mood was anything but warm. Khloe sat next to Ethan, her belly now visibly showing that she was 7 months pregnant. She sat tall, calm, and proud. The judge entered. This is the trial for fraud, forgery, and embezzlement involving Daniel, Samantha, and Melody Williams. The prosecutor stood. Over the last 15 years, this family committed financial crimes totaling over $12 million. They falsified documents, lied to banks, and stole from clients. Khloe looked at her family sitting at the front. The shine was gone. Daniel looked tired and small. Samantha had no makeup, her face blank and pale. Melody sat quietly, her eyes on the floor. They weren't glamorous anymore, they were just people who had chosen greed over honesty. 2 years later, in a peaceful neighborhood in Cahe, Khloe stood at her window. Autumn leaves twirled through the air as her 3-year-old daughter, Lucia, played happily in the yard. Mommy, look, Lucia shouted, holding up a picture she drew, flowers and sunshine. Khloe smiled. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Ethan walked into the room holding a piece of paper. Khloe, your mother has been released from prison. Khloe didn't look surprised. I expected that. She's lost everything, Ethan said. No money, no house, nothing. Khloe opened a drawer and pulled out a letter. It's from Melody, she said. She lives in a small town now. Sent an apology, asked if we could talk. Are you going to reply? No, Khloe said softly. I don't need to go backward. We're finally free. Ethan wrapped his arms around her. What are you thinking? He asked. That we made the right choice, Khloe replied. We left behind a world full of lies, and chose real happiness. She looked outside at Lucia, spinning in the leaves with laughter. The past was behind her, the future was hers to shape, and this time, it would be filled with truth, love, and peace.